guys and girls. Today we have a very special guest on our first opening podcast of The Order here. We have the legendary TV judge, legendary UCLA alumni, legendary everything. And I got a little something extra. Legendary barbecue sauce making man and tenderizer of meat. He served us on TV. He served us in the court system. Let's give it up for the Honorable Judge Joseph Brown.
It is an honor to have you with us today, Judge Bill Brown. And I'm a big fan of yours.
Well, the judge is in the house, it looks like.
That's it. I was waiting for it. I knew he was in there.
We could not wait to have you with us today. Thank you for your time. And this is our first podcast, as Drew said, and this is going to be very fun. We got some good questions for you. So what we're going to do tonight, I'm going to let Drew start it off. So Drew, if you don't mind to, break the judge in, let's see if the judge can handle what we got for him tonight.
Oh, well, he'll be able to handle this.
We got some good questions. So before he gets started, Judge, so how is your day going? How's everything been with you, my friend?
Busy, but it's okay.
Look, I want to get to where you are. I want to be able to say,
what you got going on too? Where can we catch the judge on the daily? Is there another show or anything else you want to plug?
There's always another show. You got one. What's today? Wednesday. Today is Wednesday. All right.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. I did one yesterday. The day before, did a little political intrigue today.
A lot of content coming out still. The judge is busy. So
this kind of stuff you don't put on the air. This is other kind of business. Like how things work and run and what's going on behind the scenes. That we've got an issue here. The chief of police and the new mayor are we've got a solution to crime. Let's identify the criminals.
Let's do it, because I'm with you on that.
With it. No, you're not. Guess what they want to do with it? Once they identify the criminals, they want to pay them not to commit crime.
Oh, wow. Wow. That is some BS. I cannot with that. I get that.
So anyway,
man,
it's great because you offer a great perspective for what we're trying to do with the show. Because you're Joe Brown, so the order is basically restoring order in the culture as far as comic books, franchises, things we like in that type of area. We're kind of putting it all together because the people behind the scenes get into some legal things, so it's starting to become content and under scrutiny, the stuff and legal troubles that goes on behind the scenes when these people have the microscope of Hollywood on top of them, So this is just a safe place we could talk about it. So having Judge Joe Brown come on, giving his perspective on stuff, puts a little respect on the name. So we appreciate that first and foremost, that wherever this goes, you coming on is definitely a blessing, and knowing we don't play no games and what we're trying to do and where we're trying to take things. So holding people accountable,
Well, we got to make you feel comfortable, Judge. We have to make you feel comfortable.
That's really what it is.
So you can spread that on.
Okay.
Yeah. We want
without this sauce, you lost, Now we know. You the sauce, so.
We're honored. We're just really
a modest man, so
and look, like I said, I have been watching your court show for years until it ended, and I still love your perspective. And when Drew told me that he knew you, I was like, we got to talk to Judge, because there's a lot of stuff that I like that I picked up from your show, how you used to talk about lifelong lessons and deadbeat dads and all of that. And when they used to come on your show and try to get past, get over on you, man, that took me. I was like, oh no, he finna get in their asses right now. He finna drag, man. That was epic. Yeah. I'm not even finna sit here and lie to you. That was good.
To keep the integrity through the show and through the Hollywood stuff is honestly what it is,
Yes,
the show was bad. That was lightweight. It's like they were small claims cases, and sometimes I'd sit for a lower court judge when he was out, and they'd have 300 or 400 of those on the docket in 15, 20, 25 trials. And Hollywood seemed to have a problem with handling. Like, come on, let's move. You've been talking to these people all week. Get them mic'd up. Hell with what you're talking about. $50 from Radio Shack for a mic pack. Go buy something. Put them on.
Right.
Don't come down here waiting and, I'm getting cold. Come on. Let's not languish. There's very little work right here. Let's move it. Come on.
Right.
So what I have to ask, what is it you missed the most? Like when you was on the stand like that, really putting it down?
What, on that? I don't miss that. That was shit. Hollywood crap. Bunch of idiots backstabbing little punks.
Yeah.
Sit there and used to sit around on leather couches in the bars of 5-star hotels giggling about how they backstabbed each other.
Wow.
Right. I mean, well, how long was the show? The run
15
on the show?
years.
Seasons. I forget.
It did pretty good. And see, the other thing, they weren't about to say a straight black man did something. It's like Oprah Winfrey's a superstar, but for the last 5 years, I was beating her behind every week in the ratings. And half the time I was beating Judy, and all 4 of us were in the same special CBS syndication unit. But,
well, that's what I told the guys when they said Joe Brown. I was like, he's the only one that was boxing with Judy at the time.
I wasn't trying to box with her. She was 4 feet 6 inches tall.
But you know what I mean? Like, as far as when you watch the show, the
never
dynamic.
Been a real. What happened is they had an opening for a domestic court, and Mayor Koch in New York appointed her, and she hadn't even been out of law school a year and a half. So she did something in the court where lawyers weren't even allowed to practice. And if you didn't like it and you appealed, they tried the case all over in a higher court. So for years there was no record, and then they didn't allow lawyers in there, and then eventually they did. So she'd never tried a case as a lawyer. She'd never filed an appeal, never settled a case or anything like that.
Well, what do you think it is about court TV that gives it its
what happens
fan base? Like
why? Because there's a guy named Alexis de Tocqueville. He wrote a treatise 1843 called Democracy in America. He said Americans, instead of going to plays, concerts, ballets, and such like, they go to court. There's drama, intrigue, oratory, suspense, and they get to learn about their legal system. So the average American is as expert in the law because of that as what you find over here in Europe with our solicitors and barristers. The other thing that came about from that is they had a Lindbergh trial. Lindbergh baby got kidnapped, and they had such a circus that all of the courts cut that out. So America's favorite entertainment disappeared, and it became the filthy, obscene soap opera where everybody was saying, "Oh, girl, I got to get home, see what Erica's going to do." And Erica was a filthy.
Well, I mean, who's going now? I mean, would you say
what happened? Hold on. What happened is you got these court cases. And they ran the soaps out of business. Now what their problem is they want to go back and do Hollywood again instead of reality. So they get people 2-3 years out of law school that look cute. They get people who have never really been judges anyway, even if not even in name, and they get them on there. And that's supposed to be stuff that they can control and script, and it's the same old garbage again because it's not real, and it deals with something. It does not deal with something that everybody needs. We as a people like to be told what's right, what's wrong, so we can say, okay, I'm doing the right thing. And by the way, I run $100,000 in bets one time with some Hollywood executives. I said, I tell you what, I bet each of you $10,000 a piece. It was 10 of them that I can pick the next 10 shows, movies you have, whether they're going to be hits or flops. And I picked all 10 of them right. 9 of them were flops. What's your secret? I said, it's easy. Your stories aren't saying crap. If you have a good story, whether it is the cave shaman outside the cave or the witch doctor, or whatever, or you're talking about a Greco-Roman play or Shakespeare or hell, even a John Wayne movie, it says something. So your stuff isn't saying anything. It's just, oh, the lighting's fascinating. Who gives a damn? What story does it tell?
Yeah. Because see,
I was trying to push an agenda, not a story.
Right, because see, I was going to ask you about those courts, because there's a lot of court shows they're putting on now that is so scripted and fake. Like there's got Judge Gino Brown. I mean, Brogdon. I'm sorry.
I've heard of him.
See, I don't even know who's on right now.
Right, his is called personal injury court, where they come in and ask for these astronomical prices in court cases. Like one woman wanted $1 million because she fell in the store on some sour cream. I'm seeing you like,
see, one thing too, some of the stuff they're doing now is just totally unrealistic, and it's getting the public into the wrong thought process.
Right.
See, basically, when you have civil actions, what it is it's a bribe. It is an intentional bribe to the wrong party. It says, if you come in here and you sue somebody in court, you won't feel like taking a Winchester or a Colt and going to shoot somebody or chopping their head off to get personal revenge. So it's a bribe to keep public peace, dignity, and order. And a lot of times what winds up happening on these court TV shows is they're doing stuff that's just dramatic. Now, I had something that none of the rest of them had. 24 years ago, got a written opinion from the California Supreme Court. One, recognized me as a qualified arbitrator under California law and said anything that I did was actually official and enforceable in California. And then there was a 2007 U.S. Supreme Court case that involved Judge Alex. Right. And it said when you have binding contractual arbitration, that comes under the Arbitration Act of 1928, and it's enforceable anywhere in the country. So
you were a real judge.
Yeah, I
was a real deal. Wasn't just
arbitrator
TV.
under the California Judicial Arbitration and Mediation Statutes, and I also was told in the decision that I could fine people in contempt and it would be enforced under California regulations, which sometimes I did.
And see, I want to ask you, Judge, about your time as a traffic judge. Now, I'm
never a traffic judge.
I thought what was it?
No, hell no.
I'm so sorry. I thought, because I know I seen a video of you.
I got elected as a state trial judge to 16 were the terms, several elections. So, by the way, I got a certificate somewhere around here from the state of Tennessee signed by the governor that after the last election, I had for life the official title of judge, and I could use an honorific under the state of Tennessee.
I am so sorry, Judge, because I know I've seen a video.
Murder cases.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because I know I've seen a video of you trying a case, and I thought it was a traffic case. I do apologize, but
no,
I wanted to know.
I didn't have the time for that kind of nonsense. What I did, in fact, I was the last judge on the James Earl Ray Martin Luther King thing, and it would have been my finding, by the way, that Ray was not person that killed King. He might have been a conspirator, but he was a low-level one and essentially a scapegoat. What actually happened on that, just FYI, since I'm publishing it, is the FBI recruited a 2-man hit team from the Quantico Marine Corps sniper school. They supplied the weapons. They got 5 of them on invoice late December 1967. I have the serial numbers in various places. Late April, after King had been assassinated, April 1968, the Justice Department ordered them to return these experimental weapons to the military. They claimed they lost one, and the serial numbers of the other 4 that they got on inventory and return, I have that, so the one that's missing is a murder weapon. What it was a special M14 rebarreled with a stainless barrel with a unique rifling twist. Instead of the 1 in 12 that was on the M14 standard, it was a 1 turn in every 11 1/4 inches. In other words, if the bullet went down the barrel 11 1/4 inches, it would make 1 full turn. It was a special custom loaded ammunition that was used. And the FBI got 5,000 rounds of that on invoice at the same time, late December. Everything matched up. Now, what does that mean? 1 turn in 11 1/4 inches. That meant you would have had to have had a very good custom gunsmith to have made Ray's rifle barrel. And what he had was a Remington 760 pump rifle, which was 30-06. And it had a rate of rifling twist of 1 turn in every 10 inches. But the bullet they pulled out of King was fired from a weapon that had 1 turn 11 1/4 inches. And there were 73 barrels that the U.S. government made up at their Army Marksmanship Unit. And they made 72 rifles out of them. And there was 1 spare barrel. And that's what they shot King with. It was from the fire station, not the flop house. The window of the flop house wouldn't even open up enough to shoot out of it. And the bushes were right under it. And the reason people think that the shot came from the bushes is because the sound echoed off of the wall of the Rain Motel, and the echo was cast over there. We did some experimentation with some sound systems. So anyway, it is what it is. And there was an inside trader on the whole thing, and it was not Jesse Jackson.
Man.
So it wouldn't be the first and last time the government does what it does, you know?
No,
bad guys.
it's not. And J. Edgar Hoover actually participated in giving the order, and he personally ordered all FBI surveillance, auditory, and visual of King cease 48 hours before they assassinated him. They also had done up one of these 3D tabletop maps of the whole area. And they made a mistake because they produced one within 6 hours of that. And it takes a team of lieutenants and sergeants and a few privates about a week to make one of those up if it's for the military. So they can't do one in 6 hours. And even interestingly enough, Memphis Police Department's Homicide Bureau said, we kept saying Ray was not the gunman. We knew where he was. He wasn't even in Memphis on the day in question. So he was a convenient scapegoat. He never confessed, by the way. He just said, I'm entering a plea under Alford. Alford is a moderately old U.S. Supreme Court case that says, even if you're not guilty, you can cop out to guilt if you are doing it freely and voluntarily, understandingly, knowingly, advisedly, and intelligently, and the state otherwise has a reasonable factual basis upon which to proceed outside of the plea. So he proceeded and everything down that list until he got that. And the only thing they had was supposedly his rifle. So when I got it retested, it was excluded.
Wow. And see, and a lot of people have been saying that James was not the killer. Yeah, and see, and they've been covering that up for years, Judge, and you're the only one that's coming out actually saying it. A lot of people,
yeah, I was gonna say,
yeah, a lot of people
speaking out, standing on it.
Yeah, a lot of people have come out and said that James Earl Ray was not the killer, but a lot of people were saying, "Oh no, he was." But you're the judge that presided.
Yeah, I looked at all the evidence, read the entire file, and see part of the file is some interesting collateral evidence, which got brought in and submitted into the record in his multiple petitions for post-conviction relief. One of the things they got from something that happened some time ago when George Herbert Walker Bush was president was that Congress passed an act that set up a repository for the records on assassination and assassination attempts. It was on 14th Street in downtown D.C. Bush signed an executive order to assist it, and so did Bill Clinton. And if you went in there and paid your money in the fee and you asked for the research, they would supply you with certified copies of the information in question, which was a directive to all agencies that had any information whatsoever on those attempts, the Kennedy things, George Wilders' attempted assassination, the Reagan attempted assassination, et cetera, they were to furnish it. So they came up with memoranda. And it was interesting reading the memoranda. The FBI actually had internal discussions on whether or not King should be assassinated. And the debate was whether he'd be more dangerous as a live somebody or a dead martyr. They weren't talking about civil rights. They didn't give a damn. As far as anybody was concerned, civil rights protests like he led, they had really no impact on the civil rights legislation. That was something else. What they were concerned about is this is the mid-1960s. The NAM is going on. And they were worried about King galvanizing the anti-war movement, like they felt he had an effect on the civil rights movement, and also revitalizing organized labor. So that's what they were worried about, not civil rights. Now, I just happened to be an intern at a DC think tank, been 50 plus years ago. And one of my assignments was to go over the congressional record in terms of what was being said about why the Civil Rights Act of 64, the amendments, the Voting Rights Acts, et cetera, that happened in the 60s. This team I was with, it was 3 people. We went over 60, 65, 70,000 pages of the congressional record. I think we found about 4.5 pages that discuss peaceful, nonviolent discrimination. As we characterized it at the time, what they were concerned about was the 3 B's, burn, baby, burn. And they were concerned about folk in the hood burning down American cities. And that term came from Roscoe the Magnificent, a DJ in Los Angeles before the 65 August uprising. He used to say, "This is Roscoe. We got 4 more bars for Compton. Burn, baby, burn." And he'd go back and play 4 more bars of the record. So everybody's going, burn, baby, burn. You know, it was somehow appropriate.
Man,
I graduated from high school and I'd been accepted to UCLA. So, you know, it was like.
That's exactly where I wanted you to go, because if you don't mind, sir, I'd love for you to share with these gentlemen, because they've never heard it, but I've heard it, why you shouldn't like Kwanzaa and why you shouldn't be a fan of Ron Karenga.
Son of a bitch is a scoundrel. I first ran into him on a trip in high school to LA City College. It was a field trip. He was the student body president at LA City College. His name was Ron Everett, and he had a Jamaican accent. Brothers, there is much that we need to do. And he had curly baby hair, blue-green eyes and everything. That's why he wore the shades all the time, and he shaved his head. Then the next time I ran into brother, there's much that the black man has need to know. However, it is not at all necessary for you to trouble your head, because I, Marlana, will teach you. Marlana, teach on that. So I went to the first Kwanzaa thing. It was on 42nd Street in Crenshaw, in Lamert Park, the actual physical park, not the neighborhood.
Right.
And he had all these us folk running around taking shorthand notes. Brother, what you doing taking shorthand notes, man? What time is this? The Marlana needs to know everything's going on. So what was happening is he was trying to bring black people together to talk, and in the process of talking, that was better for him to get information. So what would happen is some of his goons would be there taking shorthand notices, and anywhere from a week to a couple of months later, you get hauled in by the FBI. Were you at such and such a meeting? What's it to you? Well, we have information that you were at such and such a meeting. What about it? Did you or did you not say so and so and so and so? And they quote you exactly. You ever heard of the First Amendment, dude? Like, well, what did you intend? You ever heard of the Fifth Amendment, man? Like, you got a right to remain silent. I choose to do that. You think you're smart, don't you? Yeah, I do. Smarter than you. You know, but higher IQ, dude. You know, like, move on.
Yeah.
See, by the way, never tell the feds you don't know what they're talking about. Just say I refuse to say anything, because they will tell you, we're here to explore your remarks about so-and-so. So if you say, I don't know what you're talking about, they indict you. They can't prove anything else except you made a knowingly false statement, because they just told you what they have you there for.
Right.
But they didn't tell us then. They'd pick us up from UCLA, USC, somewhere out in Compton, somewhere out toward East LA, and take you downtown, take all your money and wouldn't give it back, take your phone book. So you never took your phone book with you. You'd leave it in your locker if you could, and they'd leave you stranded. And you have to go, hey, man, can I borrow a quarter, man, a dime? I need to make a phone call. Man, come get me, man. They hauled me down here, and they'd bring you down every few months. They'd come grab you, go out there. What do you want? We want to talk with you. I don't want to talk with you. You know, so it got to be very ludicrous. So I look at what's going on right now, by the way, and you have to understand that a lot of what you're looking at right now is what they used to do, but they've got 59 years worth of additional technology on top of it. So if your phones are acting strange, you know, is it your service, or was your service better 5 years ago, but the technology wasn't as good? Why is it worse now? Well, they had some stuff that circulated on social media a few weeks ago. It indicated that AT&T and some other phone carriers had provided several trillion records to the Biden administration and other law enforcement agencies about people's text activities and phone calls and the list of everything. What do you think that's all about? See, I've had cases. I haven't been practicing defense law for 30, 35 years. Wow. Where there'd be a block down the street, and when you're inside talking to somebody, the vibrations would show up faintly on a window pane, and they could measure that and hear what you're saying.
Wow, so Batman stuff.
4 years ago, I got a tour of 4 different DEA headquarters in downtown Los Angeles. And I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm looking at somebody's house, and they said, we have a suspect there. And said, we're about to go install a permanent tracking device in his car. What we have is temporary. So we have to change it every 3 or 4 days because the batteries run down. So we're going to hardwire it into his car. So I watched these guys drive up in a van. 3 people get out. They get one of these little dollies that they have when the mechanic goes under the car. They slid it quickly under there.
Creeper.
Use the device to open the car door, pop the hood. They went and did the installation. It didn't take them literally 2 minutes. I timed it 111 seconds. They were real quick about it. I said, where are you guys to do this on a phone pole? I said, what, right down the street? No, we're about, and they showed me a map. We're about 6 blocks away. We have a camera down there. I said, that's very good video. And they showed,
it's like John Wick for real out here.
Yeah, and they showed me all of these devices in their storage rooms. They had lamps. said these are the lamps that they typically use at Holiday Inn. These they use at Hilton. These they use at the Marriott. And what we do is we just plug them in, and you see there's a camera set up here and a sound system. So when we know somebody that we're interested in is going to stay at a hotel, motel, or whatever it is, we just go in and we get the management to let us plug these in place, the ones that are there. So we listen to you. And then I went in another room. It was a fairly large room. And from floor to ceiling, wall to wall, they had all of these monitors. So it was communications. I said, what happened? These are people's computers that you seize? No, we have a peep and check warrant. So what we've done is we've gone into the computers remotely of people that we're targeting. So now what we're doing is we're going through the computers of everyone that has been in touch with that person's computer, whether they contacted the person we were interested in or that person was interested, whether it was just a casual business email. So you're reading everybody's computer stuff, the entire contents of all of these people. Well, we have some assistants with the devices we have that will pick up stuff that gets flagged. We looked at some of it's funny, like this dude and his girlfriend, you know, they like to exchange pictures here, and you know, damn, describing what she likes to do. Damn, freak, ain't it? Jolly's off on that comment. I mean, this was 24 years ago, 2000.
Yeah.
So what are they doing now? And
So
by the way, back to Kwanzaa.
Yeah, sure.
Ron Karenga was working with some other people, Amamu Baraka. You might know him by another name. And what they were doing, well, he was a poet. Anyway, there was a thing where they would provide information, and they got free passes on stuff. And the US organization was trying to take control of Black communities in various parts of Los Angeles. So they were cooperating with the police, and it turned up after that Bunchy Carter, John Huggins homicide, assassination out at UCLA at Campbell Hall. I was there. A witness wound up testifying in the homicide trial to a mess. They were found, there were 17 bodies on a ranch that they controlled out in Orange County, a farm, and 9 or 10 of the people were people that were acquaintances or friends of mine, and they kept getting free passes on everything. Now, Ron Karenga got sent to the California penal system penitentiary for torturing 3 women. So he got out after 1 year, 1 day, and within a month and a half, he was a tenured professor with the state university system. What we ran into him on and what the murders at UCLA were about is because there was a resistance by the Black Student Alliance, the Black Student Unions, the Panther Party, and to an extent the Nation of Islam against him trying to come in and take over Black history programs at various colleges and universities. So UCLA was going to set up a formal program that led to a major in Black history, and he wanted to be the director. So we had some lightweights there and some people that weren't lightweight. We had a thing where when I got there in 1965, they had 145 full-time Black students, 73 grad students, and 72 undergrads. So we set up a BSU and midway through 1966. So we did some stuff, and we wound up getting a commitment to get a block of 250 Black students for 66.
That is good.
67. and then another block, 67, 68. Now that second block was a bunch of punks to a great extent. Instead of them participating, brother, we got to make a move on the econ department. They don't have. Well, brothers, it's not that I don't appreciate all that you've done for me and the sacrifices you've made to open things up, but I can't afford to jeopardize my career. You'll have to go on without me, but I'll be there with you in spirit. Grab that fool. One guy now dead. He had on some gray slacks. We grabbed him and we took him to this thing. LAPD was there, LA County Sheriff's Department, the Highway Patrol, the uni cops and all of that other stuff. He got so scared he pissed his pants. Two brothers on to a big wet stain down his left leg and a puddle of piss by his left foot. Dude said, man, damn.
Oh, wow.
They dropped him. He fell down in a puddle of his own piss. So when he recovered, he spread it off. And then after that, he was a consultant for several U.S. presidents on black militancy, punk. His daddy was a punk, mama was a witch, and his sister was a bitch. And
them fighting words, Judge. Them fighting words.
Them ain't fighting words. I'm being complimentary.
Oh man,
Judge, they almost got you.
Yeah, I know.
If you weren't in your office,
yeah,
it would have gotten you.
I haven't even got to that.
Okay.
I'll wait.
There's a discourse in there. I was in there with Nathaniel Clark. I recruited him. He was a Panther. Also Geronimo Platt. He was not at the meeting. We called him G. John Huggins and Bunchy Carter and Elaine Brown to UCLA. I was the student in charge of the student committee on black admissions, so special admissions. So Nathaniel Clark was in there. Elaine Brown was in there. I was in there. A lot of what they said went on in the meeting did not go on in the meeting. It was just a continuing hostility about the us folk trying to take over the Black History program. That, by the way, I helped draft. And Professor Crenshaw out there with a critical race theory has plagiarized and bastardized and trimmed down to a whine thing instead of a get angry. This is why you should get mad and be motivated to do something. We collaborated with the Brown Berets and the Native Americans and the Asians, and we got Campbell Hall, which they were going to demolish. So we made that the Minority Affairs building. And I had an office on the third floor. So when John and Bunchy got shot, Elaine Brown and I and Nat had just left, Nat Clark, and we were walking in the staircase and we heard something we thought was gunfire up the staircase. We were getting ready to head up, and at the same time looked back down because the door was open. So John was standing, and one of the us guys went behind him and shot him in the back twice. Bam, bam.
Wow.
And we could see somebody standing in front of Bunchy and shot him from the front twice. Bam, bam.
Wow.
The four of them, the two accessories and the two gunmen, all ran out. John set up, was holding his back, pulled out this .357 and fired 6 shots and hit one of these guys running past us in the back one time, but it apparently didn't go through his scapula, so he had a sore shoulder, and they ran on out the front, and then John fell on back. So we got all the hardware out of the place. A lot of folk were armed. I know they weren't supposed to, but that's a misdemeanor, not in anybody's presence, and there's no warrant. I'm not IDing anybody. And Elaine got the stuff out of the building. I go up there, and there are 4 bullet holes in the back of my chair. So I run back down, and I'm on the way down. This cop snatches open the door and says, "Don't move." I said, "I ain't breathing, dude. Hey," and I skidded down. So they got me and every brother they could find on campus. And interestingly enough, we had a black vice chancellor named Young. and he was the acting chancellor because the regular chancellor was on a temporary sabbatical. So he was having a meeting in the chancellor's dining room with chancellors from various big European universities. So LAPD kicks in the door, rams a shotgun in his chest, puts him on the wall, frisk him, handcuffs him, and with the shotgun rammed in between his shoulder blades, they march him across campus in front of all the students back where we are, and they handcuff us to a chair, him included. I think they kept us in there about 4.5 hours until we convinced them we had to piss. So they started releasing us after they wanted to talk. So basically everybody was telling the same story. Hey, officer, what happened, man? We were down here, these us orangutans, man. Like, it wasn't like we didn't know who it were or where they were. Some people even gave the police, if you wanted mama's address, this is where they live. I know where the other one, yeah, tell them, tell them. So they got 2 accessories, and they never did catch the gunman. And the interesting thing about the accessories, I think Johnny Cochran represented them along with a defense team. They got found guilty of 2nd-degree murder, all right? They sent the 2 of them to a penal camp, and they were twin brothers, the Ali brothers, all right? And they were there less than 48 hours, and they just walked off. We discovered that they had recalled the all points bulletin on them, APB, within 24 hours. So this is about 3 or 4 months after they had gotten sent up. And there's this guy named Ayuko Babu who runs the Pan-African Film Festival in LA, still does now. Put this thing on at the Palladium, which was a huge club on Hollywood Boulevard in LA. And what it was about was this. We had gotten this supply of Jungle Boots, a huge airplane full that we want to get sent over to Mozambique for the Frelimo guerrillas. And the State Department seized them. So we decided to raise money. So we got Oscar Brown Jr., Pharaoh Sanders, Taj Mahal, Gene Pace. We got Aretha Franklin, and we got Stevie Wonder to agree to do a free concert. It was a hell of a concert, man. It went it was wintertime. It went like from 7 o'clock until 6 a.m. I mean, the guy said, I'm not closing this place down. If you don't get everybody to take the drinks off the table at 2 o'clock, you can keep going.
He would be crazy to close that down with them big names there.
Hours and Aretha just cut up. So we raised a lot of money. Now, while this is going on, I'm walking through the audience, and who do I stumble onto but the Ali brothers? Like, what are you doing out? We just walked off. I said, damn, I was glad I had my pistol on, like, hey, this. So they went on. Now, to make a long story short, 25 going on 30 years later, they got tired of being nervous, and they attempted to surrender themselves. California told them, we're not interested. We don't care. Go on about your business.
Wow.
So that's what time that was. So if you remember the first Million Man March, Minister Farrakhan was up there, and he said, now we're going to, in the spirit of reconciliation, we have Ron Karenga, the Maulana, as he's called by his followers. He's here. And now everybody control yourself. Don't get unruly. This is in the spirit of reconciliation. We're going to invite him to make a few remarks. See, everybody in LA knew the treason this fool was into and how he had double-crossed folks, set folk up. He got H. Rap Brown thrown in the penitentiary. I was one of H. Rap Brown's bodyguards for this particular week. and he was over in what we call the jungle now, and he was going to go to the airport when the Karinga came over there, and Ron Karinga too, so he could meet him. And we advised him, don't let them take your luggage out there. We called him in the back, said, they're offering to take your luggage. Don't let them do it. So he said, well, in spirit of unity, I'll let them go ahead and do it, save me the trouble. Now, in those days, they did not run things through metal detectors and stuff like that. They didn't even have any set up. You just walked on in, and you could take your luggage in with you straight on to the airplane. Right. Nobody gave a damn. So Karinga's folk took his luggage out there to check, and what they did is they smuggled in a disassembled carbine. So when we get Rap Brown out there later, what winds up happening, he gets out, walks in, and they throw him on the wall because he was under indictment for inciting riots. And they got him for somebody being under indictment, federal indictment, in possession of a firearm. That's what they locked him up for. So Karinga set him up on that. And he was there personally that time. I didn't like the son of a bitch anyway. He was sleazy, fake, and he got that year and a day for torturing 3 women. He was paranoid. He thought they were trying to poison him. So he put a soldering iron up one of them's vagina and a hose up another one.
Oh,
He
wow.
was cold-blooded about it.
Crazy stuff.
You know, it is what it is. But he did a year and a day, I guess, to give him credibility. And after he got out, whatever.
So they should have gave him longer for that. That was just disgusting.
Well, yeah, but bottom line was he did it 1 year and 1 day, and then he's a tenured professor within 2 months in the state university system.
Wow.
That's what he was trying to get, was control of a Black Studies or Black History program so that he could have a 4-year course in Usology. They got to be pretty much a factor around there. And then there was a gang thing going on. We had Slausson's, Dale Viking, businessmen, Bobtown, De La Soul, and a few others prior to August 1965. August 1965, they call it the Watts Riots. We call it the Uprising. And after that, everything calmed down. I mean, for 18 months, there were only 2 black-on-black homicides. In one case, some woman shot her husband, and another one, some woman shot her boyfriend, supposedly for messing around on him. The rapes dropped to 0, burglaries dropped to 0, assaults dropped to 0. Those were the only 2 homicides that went on. And the LAPD wouldn't go up in there except 5 deep. So wow. It was slum clearance. They burnt down, tore down all of the trashed out places and rebuilt it. And interestingly enough, white folk, Asian folk, whatever it may be, that treated the people right, the folk that lived in the area say, hey, go on, these people are okay, leave them alone. So we got that out of the way, and all of these gangs disappeared. But there were some gang members that had started not into this. They wound up doing time starting in 64, 63, and when they got out, 67, 68, they brought that foolishness out with them. So there were a lot of former Slaussons that were associated with the Panther Party, and a lot of businessmen that got associated with the US organization. Now, when the Black Panther Party got started in LA, Southern California, the chairman was a guy named Shermont Banks. He was a student out at Cal State LA. He got tired of what happened and he left, and Bunchy Carter, who had gotten out of the penitentiary, became chairman of the party at that point in time. And then there was some party animus going on in terms of not the party so much, but the former gangs, the Slaussons versus the businessmen. So that didn't help a damn thing out. And I recruited Bunchy Carter myself because he was functionally illiterate when he went in, but he did what Malcolm did after reading up about Malcolm, what he said about educating himself. So he memorized the dictionary and started writing poetry, pretty good poetry. And we brought him in and recruited him and got him admitted. He made a pretty good student. So did John Hudgens, who came from back east. His daddy had been a janitor for some of the frat houses at Yale University. So he came out and we got everybody together. Geronimo Pratt had done 4 tours in the NOM as a Green Beret. He came out as a sergeant. He's real live badass. He'd done some of that special ops stuff over there in the NOM.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He liked it. So he was a different kind of somebody. He was in his late 20s instead of early 20s or late teens like most undergrad students, but they did well. So it is what it is. Elaine had worked out there as a secretary, so we just said, you've been here several years as a secretary, you might as well be a student. So we got her in. It worked out all right. Now, another person, Master Sensei Guru, Dr. Clifford Stewart, late of Los Angeles, deceased as a result of anesthesia complication when he was getting an operation on his neck after getting injuries. A guy named Ron Chappell, Dr. Ron Chappell, now martial artist, profound martial artist, became the youngest playground directors in the LA City school system at a place called Trinity Avenue Elementary School. They recruited me to work there as a playground director. Also, the beautiful Tracy Reed, an actress who was in Love Boat, and she played with Billy Crystal and a few other people in some detective movies with her fine self. And also Vivian Parker with her fine self. They volunteered. So we had an interesting playground. We taught martial arts and stuff, and we organized some things, took the kids on field trips. So 3 of us, me, Cliff, and Ron, we'd take 150 to 200 students from 1st grade to 7th grade to the movies every Wednesday in downtown LA because they didn't have any open theaters in South Central. And we'd keep them so quiet, just the 3 of us young men, that patrons would say, I swear I never knew you had these kids in there. So we got them in free. And we got UCLA to provide the transportation. And we also had some interesting students, 2 of whom I'm sure you've heard of. One of them was the late singer Barry White.
Yeah.
Skinny 12-year-old on the playground. And we got to his mom. She listened and she helped him escape that part of the hood. It was pretty bad over there. And they put his age up because of his deep voice. And he died of some diabetic complications. Good guy. We had another somebody who was over there at 12, 13, and then at 14, he became a volunteer playground director. He was the last person executed on California's death row. Tookie Williams, who was one of the co-founders of the LA Crips.
Yeah.
Tookie was a smart, brilliant kid. He took the teaching we were giving him pretty well. In fact, wrote quite a few children's books where he was trying to pass this on. And what wound up happening, his mama wanted that check. We couldn't get her to cooperate, so he couldn't get out of the swamp. So he just became the baddest ass alligator in the swamp. Got huge. And I think the governor, Schwarzenegger, should have commuted his sentence to life without parole, but I think the governor was being chicken shit because Schwarzenegger and Tookie used to work out together at Gold's Gym in Santa Monica. They'd spot with each other because they could pump some iron nobody else could.
Man.
You should have held Tookie down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Basically.
it took them 45 minutes to kill him because he was so physically powerful.
Mm.
And that I think is probably the last person executed in California because all kinds of questions came up. Like, it took you 45 minutes to kill the dude, you know, damn.
Mhm.
If he's
But he
buff,
hung in.
if he's buff, what can you do? I mean, the straps, he can break him with just one arm if he could.
No,
So what-
he had to cooperate. Apparently, it's reported. He said, "Do what you got to do." I ain't scared.
Well, I mean, I guess my question for you is like, it's such a different age now since you've been on and things just so change. Like, I look at what my kids deal with the internet, and it's like, how do you even protect them from certain stuff and
Don't let them look
traditional
at it.
values and stuff like that? Like, where's the judge at with where the world is at right
Well,
now?
like it's like this. I told you, you're not looking at it. Did I not make myself clear?
Hmm.
And then if that doesn't get it, there's some things you do.
Right.
You might have to snatch somebody to emphasize it. See, here's
Yeah.
something. If you're trying to teach a child something, it's the same way they do in the Army. The
Right.
sergeant or the parent stands there and shows them how to do it. He
Right.
watches them as they do it, like field stripping a weapon. The sergeant
Mhm.
walking around. The parents wondering is how you fold your socks and your shirts and your underwear. Goes like this. All right. Now, you see that? Let me see you do it. All right. No, not that way, this way. And you watch them do that over and over for a while, and then you have an excuse to step down the hallway or outside the barracks, and you step back in to see if they're still performing, and if they are, okay. And then eventually you just let them do it, and then you review it. Now, if they did it, fine. If they didn't, then you assess whether they did not understand how to do it or there is a motivation problem here. And if there's a motivation problem, then you make sure they knew how to do it and then you motivate them. Sometimes the motivation gets nasty. And if necessary, the nasty motivational aspect escalates. And then you, by the time you make it very uncomfortable for the subject to not do what he is supposed to be doing or she, then you can back off because they've learned their lesson. See, corporal punishment is, for example, legal still in Tennessee, but most cops don't know it and most DAs don't know it, but it's still on the books. And they've upgraded it. And the bottom line is you see, when you substitute artificial pain, you are preserving the child from the onus of suffering serious pain rendered by the real world later on in life, because the world does not give a goddamn about your excuses.
Sure don't.
And see, ultimately, we are in a safety bubble. We are the badasses on the planet when it comes to eating meat. A lot of us are vegans or vegetarians, but if you want to eat meat, you can pretty much eat what the hell you want. Now, I can take you some places in the ocean. I'm a PADI certified master diver. I can take you some places in the ocean where there's some stuff out there that might want to eat you.
Be swimming with the sharks, huh?
I can take you some places on land where there's some things you don't want to see, but they might be very anxious to see you. But I can show you how to deal with them too. And remember, we used to deal with them with stout sticks with rocks on the end of them. So they're endangered. Oh, the elephant, once a magnificent creature, now endangered. Send $19 a month to the World Wildlife Fund. The tiger, king of the jungle.
As they clone the
And
woolly
now,
mammoth, you know.
endangered. Send $19 a month to the World Wildlife Fund. Poor Oscar, chained in a kennel in the backyard, in the cold, will never know love. Send $19 a month to the ASPCA. Poor Jamal, he ain't never known love. Send $19 a month to Save a Negro Fund. You know,
And they
Like,
still got the
that
commercials
ain't
out
the way
too.
the world works.
Right?
So, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that goes wrong if you get it wrong, but we've got people in place. Oh my God, it's unfair to the children.
Oh
I
God.
remember 50 years ago, I was on the Title I committee. I was at a legal services program, so I was their representative. So we started getting these clowns in there. It's unfair to the children because they've been in school all this time, 12 years, and now they want to show in cap and gown. And just because they don't get a diploma, they shouldn't be deprived of graduation. What the hell did they graduate from? So they started this nonsense with a certificate of service, attendance. So you screwed up, messed up, and played big damn dummy, and you haven't learned enough to get yourself through high school, but they're going to let your ass get up there and put on a cap and gown
Down.
and walk through and get a certificate of attendance. Big damn dummy, ain't going to get a job. But that's supposed to be more important than sitting as
Everybody
dummy
gets a
down
trophy
at the
now.
table and doing the homework. So big dummy, you get a big dummy
Yeah.
piece of paper.
I've
But
been
what
saying,
did you learn? You didn't learn stuff, so you remember, yay, man. You know, like he ain't got to do what he ain't got to do, man. You know, like I got my bitches and hoes take care of me, man.
but see, I'm with you,
Damn,
Judge. That's
girl,
not how the
you
world
let the
works.
women take care of you.
Judge
What's
Hustle
wrong
and
with you?
Flow.
Don't you? You still got your dick, don't you? Or did you cut that off along with your balls, man? What's the
Probably
matter
stayed
with
at the school before
It's
they
getting
crossed
crazy.
the
It's getting
big-
crazy out here, Judge. That's what they want you to do. That's the kicker. That's what they
I
want you to
can't.
do.
I
Cut
can't
that
do
thing
that.
off.
Yeah, I can't do that.
I could never.
Well,
protecting
attack
womanhood and
the
childhood
family.
and promoting manhood. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah, there's
all
definitely
damn time.
agendas going on nowadays within
Yeah.
everything.
And
And
then
that's-
they
Pushing
want
them
to
like
sissy
crazy.
everything up, man. You're supposed to be sweet. By the way, have you been keeping up? Go to the French news services, the German news services, the English edition, and see what Putin is saying about why Russia's in Ukraine. One,
Mhm.
because they got asked by some Ukrainians to come back because they missed being part of the old Russian Empire and the old Soviet Union. They were the biggest state in the Soviet Union.
Mhm.
Two, because Stalin never did do what he said he was going to do about dealing with the Nazis that were in Ukraine left over after World War II, because he said you're not doing that Nuremberg thing on.
So they're Hydra, basically.
So they're hiding
Okay.
Nazis, and a lot of the people you see meeting up in the White House, when you look at them 10 years ago in wife beaters, they've got all these swastikas tattooed all over themselves. That's number two. Number three is because at the end of the 1940s and early 1950s, before he died, Stalin brought in all of these Africans to be seduced by the Soviet system. And they even went to Ukraine, which is by water, and it's the warmest place in Russia. It's not 40 below zero in Moscow in the winter. And the descendants of those African immigrants, they're getting snatched, the female ones getting snatched, and they have these sex fortresses where they're taking over hotels and they're kept in there under armed guard as prostitutes, and they're sold into sex slavery. And then the fourth reason is the interesting one. They're trying to keep the United States from imposing this new religion on the rest of the world. It's called the LGBTQIA rainbow cult, they call it. So
Wow.
they don't need another one. Now, to make that make sense, think of Buddhism. It's an ancient and honorable religion, but it has no God. It's a system of philosophy. LGBTQIA plus, not homosexual so much, but this cult is the same thing, and they're trying to forcibly make it the official state religion. In other words, no choice. You can't put a crucifix in a public school, but you can put a rainbow flag. You can't put the crescent and a star, or the Jewish star, or the Buddhist symbol, or the Hindu six-armed God symbol in a public school, but you can put the rainbow flag. You can't hang any one of
I
these.
mean, the rainbow was a gift from God, wasn't it? The rainbow
Yeah,
was
but
a
that's not
guarantee
what
that
they're
he was
doing.
never going to kill us again.
Yeah,
They
but
can't have that. They could try, Judge,
yeah,
but
what
that's
they're
not
doing,
theirs for them to take.
yeah, but it's not, what it is it's a system. See, Mama said if you don't go to temple, mosque, synagogue, or church on Sunday or Friday or whatever the holy day is, you don't go anywhere the rest of the week. But they get these kids for 6 hours a day from preschool through 12th grade, 5 days a week, and they indoctrinate them so they become members of the stuff. And we've got a bad problem because essentially the way they do it is anti-masculine. I heard them on college campuses 55 years ago, all over the country, especially at UCLA, which meaning California was the center of a lot. You had the man haters who were feminist. No, the man haters who were a certain kind of lesbians, the ones that hated that they weren't men, the feminists, the ones that hated that they weren't strong men, the soy or beta boys, the nerds, the ones that hated that they weren't normal men, some of the gays, and the ones that hated men for starting war, which is a big part of the anti-war crowd. You know, like, man, war is a man thing, man. You know, it's got to be about love, man. Man, love, power, man. We won't have war. See, the way men we are, man. We get grudges and we get these principles, duty and honor, man. And we have war, man. We got to train guys up like girls, man, so we can emote and cry and be human, man, and be in touch with our inner selves, man. Pass the joint, man. That's some good smoke, man.
You sound like the guy from Half Baked.
Yeah, so
right? That's a great movie.
Watch Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke.
I used to watch them all the time.
So I mean that was reality, but you see, that gave them an opportunity to do what they wanted to do, which is they already damn near control the entertainment industry. They wanted to get control of the communications industry. They did. They wanted to get control or infiltrate both parties and get control of one, and they got control of the Democratic Party. And then they wanted to deal with controlling high finance, and they got that in pocket. So now you have all of these companies that have all of these imposed rules about.
So how do you feel about the TikTok stuff going on then in Congress? If you want to talk about
it's interesting because if you want to see what's going on with TikTok, go to the website for the People's Republic of China. It's a huge one.
Yeah, it's a window to China, ain't it? That's why they're not feeling that whole idea.
No. They own TikTok. So the People's Republic of China is saying we own it. You know, if these fool Americans want to ruin their character, we'll help them out. So,
and the information, we're giving them the information.
Yeah. So TikTok, see, when I was coming up, there were standards. You didn't put certain things out there. The producers, the studio executives wouldn't allow this to happen. And then they had, I think it was called the Knox protocols they had, which you just don't allow. I may be wrong about the names. A long time since I thought about it. You couldn't do these things. You just did not put certain things in movies because it would have a bad effect because Hollywood knew the impact that it had on youth all over the world. But now there are no rules. The Supreme Court said you couldn't have obscenity, and that was where the overweening purpose was prurient interest in something. But now nobody squawks about even the most obscene stuff. We flipped from Janet Jackson with her fine self, flashing a little titty.
Super Bowl, that was
huge star.
That was 20 years ago already.
That wasn't too long ago. Now we got fat ass hog Lizzo going around naked all the day. Stand up with a bare flabby ass, twerking in the
But see,
state.
that's body shaming now, Judge. You can't do
Well,
that
fuck
nowadays.
body
You can't.
shaming. We need shame and we need guilt.
They'll
Guilt,
cancel your ass
shame
for
are
that. You
good.
can't
Those
do
are
that.
devices that control human behavior. It's part of the socialization and acculturation process
Absolutely.
to get the apex predator on the planet Earth to behave itself, because predatory beasts kill everything easily enough when you're like us. And we also, like tigers and lions and sharks and other things, we can kill each other. So you have socialization and acculturation, so that when a person is a boy and he has proper masculine input, he's masculinized. So there are things that become protocols, like fight fair, fight like a man, no hitting below the belt, war crimes, white flag goes
So
up.
is it the technology you say? Is it the
And
technology ruining everyone, ruining the
no,
kids?
no. It doesn't make any difference with the technology. Like the English used to say, I sell, boy, just isn't done, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I sell, fellow, you know, that's not quite cricket. We just don't do it that way, you know? And these punk asses have never heard manhood, and most of them don't even understand what a fair fight is. So you protect these little punks from bullying. They don't learn square one masculine things, stand up to a bully. That's what all men have had to do since Alley-oop was running around in front of a cave. So no man up stuff, no learning how to deal with this, but that beast is still in there. It's instinctive. It grins and lurks, and when it gets let out, the child, now grown up, doesn't know what to do with it, and it goes kill something in the hood or hallway. So it's punked out routine. We have to protect the children from the bullying. Oh my God. The parents and the teachers and the police, we have to stop the bullying. Oh, he killed himself because they bullied him all night. Oh, damn, fool, turn the shit off. If you're that damn weak, take your dumb ass out. You know, we don't need you. What you here for? So we get this kind of thing going on, and it gets real bad, and boys don't learn the protocols. And like, you know, when you're 7 years old, you know, you don't mess around with somebody 9 years old, 8 years old, you get embarrassed and slapped across your head. There are ways of dealing with it, but people grow up and they don't learn these things. So you see people constantly escalating because they don't know what's a fight about. I would go speak to places, said, everybody in here over 70, hold your hand up. Anybody over 70 who's never been in a fist fight, take your hand down. Nobody's hand goes down. Anybody over 60, all you 70, put your hands down. Over 60, raise your hand. Anybody in here not been in a fist fight, put your hand down. Nobody's hand down. 50, few hands go down. 40, a lot of hands go down. 30 and over, a whole bunch of hands go down. See, you punk asses ain't never been in a fist fight, never had your butt kicked. Don't know how to kick ass, go around acting like you can. You know, some of us walk around, yea, though I walk through the valley in the shadow of death, I fear no evil because I'm the baddest EMF in the damn valley. A lot of folk don't even know what that means. You gonna front off with this? You know how to get your John Wick on? No. You know karate? No. So what in the hell are you gonna do? It's weapons. We have to get rid of these assault rifles. Hell, you can kill somebody real fine with a rock. Most people get killed by a damn claw hammer in your tool chest than anything else. A whole lot of folk, by what I had to preside over, get killed by screwdrivers and butcher knives. Lot more. And you shoot somebody, that's real noisy and calls attention. You knife somebody, that's quiet.
That's so true. That is so true, man.
Because with a claw hammer, you put them out unconscious. There's just a thunk and squish. You know, people go on about their business. So I'm looking at all of these homicides by hammer and screwdriver and butcher knife, and the occasional one by gunfire. It's like, okay, fine. More people get killed by automobiles. So you let every clown that can't drive a car get a driver's license, and the test consists of backing out of a head-in space, going around the corner, driving in, and you pass your driving test, and they get on the LA freeway, and they're combing their hair with a cup of Baskins and Robbins ice cream, spooning it in, trying to hold the cell phone under their shoulder, and driving 43 miles an hour into 65 mile an hour fast lane, down the 10 freeway or the 101 or the 405. It's a real live mess. But you give them driver's license and they get people killed. Wow. You know, so what time is it? It's like collateral damage. So certain things come in as collateral damage. We don't have a sense of perspective. See, when I was growing up, the fathers and the uncles and the older cousins and the friends